Hey guys, how you doing? It's Art from Art's Model Trains. So I'm back with one more video, hopefully my last on the WTIU. And I wanted to close out this series, I guess you can call this a series, of videos about the WTIU and how I hooked it up to my layout with a final kind of walkthrough of what I ended up doing to get the WTIU to work properly on my layout. So again, in case you guys haven't watched any of the videos, and I'll try to throw a link someplace to some of the other videos, I was having an initial problem with this WTIU and my Lionel ZWL. I could not get the two of them to actually play nice together. It turned out it was my power strip. There was probably something wrong with that power strip in the ground. Once I replaced that with a Belkin power strip, everything was fine. They were working together well, but I did notice some other issues. I had a couple of situations where if I was running trains, killed track power, brought track power back up, the DCS engines wouldn't react quick enough to that and then just take off at full speed. So I wasn't quite sure what was going on there. Like the system itself, the lights, you can see it right here. The lights would actually not switch purple when I brought the power back up. There was almost like a little bit of a delay. And so rather than troubleshoot that, let's talk about what I ultimately did and how it's working. Okay, so first, let me just throw a couple of things out there to answer a few things I saw in comments and a few things I've seen on the OGR forum. So number one, I have the base 3 and the WTIU together. I am not connecting my base 3 through the WTIU. I am running a legacy signal directly to my ZWL, and then also directly to, well, I guess for the outside loop, one wire to the distribution block. And I'll explain that in a minute, but literally I am not connecting them together in any way to try to run them through. I know there was a lot of confusion about the way, I know a number of those videos where MTH talked about the fact that their system could control both Lionel and MTH engines. And I saw a few guys who were new to command control talking about like, I don't get my Lionel engines to recognize the WTIU. They will not recognize the WTIU. They are two different command systems. You need to have a legacy base, whether a cab 2 base or a base 3, and a WTIU or a TIU. There is a way to connect them together and use the app or remote from MTH to run your legacy or TMCC stuff. I believe, don't correct me, well, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong on this one, but I believe you don't get full functionality, but I am not running it that way. I do not want to run it that way. I want to leave the two systems separately. The legacy system is working fantastic. I ran that one wire to my ZWL, and there hasn't been a problem with any of my tracks since then, so I'm not messing with that. Two, I have two old iPhone or iPad devices. This is an old iPhone I have from my wife. This I picked up. Sean's Train Depot did a great video. I picked this up off of Amazon for $100, and I use this as my remote for both the base 3 and the WTIU. Just because this is a little bit small to see when you're trying to look at some of the buttons more on the Cab 3 app than the WTIU app. But just so everybody knows, there is a way for you to back up and restore from one device to the other. So all the custom sound tags that I added into one device, I was able to create a backup, airdrop it over to the other device, and install it on this device so that all the tags, all the engine info, anything I had set on one was set on the other. So I didn't have to do it over twice. That is something they haven't figured out yet on Lionel. So all the pictures I've taken on this phone on my Cab 3 app are not on this Cab 3 app here. I believe that's a functionality they're working on how do you copy that stuff from device to device. I hope they figured that out soon. And one other hint I want to give you guys is when you download the MTH app, the first level is free. Then there's a standard level, which I think was $5, and a premium, which is another 20. So 25 or 30 total, I guess, is somewhere in there. I don't remember the exact prices. To use anything other than the fixed inputs, you need to pay for the premium version. And what I ended up doing was buying the premium version, flipping my two variable channels to fixed. And again, just for hopefully answer some questions, people were asking what is fixed versus variable and some of the forum questions I saw. Fixed channel on the WTIU, all it does is it doesn't change what you put in. So if you put 10 volts in, it's going to pass 10 volts out. You put 20 volts in, it's going to pass 20 volts out. So you don't have to worry about like, what are you putting in? If you're using a, ZW and you're just cranking the handle, whatever you crank on that handle is going to pass through to WTIU. The variable channel is if you want to control the voltage up and down to the track through the app or the remote. That allows you to run conventional using the remote. I don't need that because I have a Power Master, four Power Masters built into my ZWL. So I control the throttle this way using my legacy app or remote. So again, just don't lose sight of the fact that while the Cab 3 app is free for all levels, all controls, when you get that app for free, you can control everything on a legacy engine. For a WTIU and a DCS engine, you need to buy the different levels in order to unlock controls for the different types of functionality, whether it be on the WTIU or the locomotive itself. Okay, so let's move on to how I hooked up my WTIU. So what I ended up doing, and this is after conversations with a few guys like Sean from Sean's Train Depot, Nick from Nick's Crossing, and a couple of other folks, is I went back to my original approach and I hooked the DCS WTIU in passively. So what I did was I have a distribution block on that half of the layout that controls that section. And just to recap, I actually have two block sections on my layout divided by a lift bridge. So that section has a distribution block and this section has a distribution block for this outside main line. So what I did was I took the two fixed channels for the WTIU. I did not put anything into it. And all I did was run a brand new long wire all the way out to that new section, hooked it into the distribution block, and then used the distribution block right here that's for this half of the layout, connected each one of those into fixed 1 and fixed 2 on the WTIU. So now when I power the track through my base 3, which is hooked to my ZWL Power Masters, the track powers up, the WTIU passively flips to purple, and I get both a legacy signal and a DCS signal. So let me just do that really fast so you guys can see. This is track 1, and I don't know if you can see it on the screen, but there are purple lights there, and I have my base 3. So I have both I think there's a legacy Polar Express and a DCS. I think there's a GS4 down the other end of the layout sitting there. So, and then again, if I just turn that off, these lights will go back to green over here. So that was what I did for the main outside loop. This elevated line, which you can just see here, has my pink Awareness Express on it. That's a PS3 Rail King engine. That right now, I actually have the power running through the TIU. I get a really bad buzz with that. But what I noticed is I get that buzz whether I run the power through the TIU or not. So I've just left that way because I've wired it. All the wires are cut and spliced together and everything. So I've just left it because either way it works. And what's interesting is I did not have to run a separate legacy signal from the base 3 to that track. All I did was just leverage the legacy signal that comes through this ZWL. The power comes out of this track to the WTIU, out to the track, and that legacy signal makes it through. I had heard that there could be problems with that, but I haven't had any issues. So I'm leaving that again the way it is. It's working fine. So that's it, guys. Just a quick recap. I wanted to close out kind of this series. And like I said, just tell everybody how I ended up getting my system up and running. It's been running flawless now for 3 or 4 days in this format. So I'm leaving it this way. It is, right now, my WTI is just sitting on some boxes here. I'll probably mount that under the layout. Again, no Wi-Fi issues or anything there. So we'll probably leave that under the layout at this point. But let me know in the comments, guys, if you have more questions. I can hopefully help. Like I said, the OGR forum has a bunch of threads going about problems people have been having with the WTIU and getting it set up. And the guys there can help as well. And if you've had success in a passive mode or a different mode, let me know in the comments. I'd love to learn from other people how they're getting their system hooked up. And if you guys have jumped on this or haven't jump on this deal, especially now with Black Friday and everything going on, jump on an old iPad tablet or Android tablet, or I think you can do it. I have a Fire HD tablet. It's an old one. It's in my storage room, but I actually was able to get the app side loaded on there. There's instructions online on how to do that. Those are great options as well, and they're really cheap right now. Just because having a dedicated device where the screen is always on, always connected to either the Base 3 or the WTIU makes a big difference when it comes to controlling your trains. But thanks for watching, guys. Please be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you again next time.